Welcome to my channel States of History. Today I'm about to share with you a story that will keep you on the edge of your seat, a story about loyalty, hidden identities, and the weight of secrets carried in silence. The morning sun burned over the Marine Corps base in Okinawa. The parade ground was alive with boots hitting the asphalt, orders barked, and young recruits standing at stiff attention. Among them was a quiet figure, a woman in her early 30s, lean, sharp-eyed, but humble in her stance. She wore no medals, no extra insignia, just the plain uniform of someone who blended into the crowd. But there was something about her presence, something that made others straighten a little more when she walked by. Her name on the roster was Lieutenant Sarah Keating. She was assigned temporarily to the logistics unit, a posting so ordinary it drew no attention. But beneath that calm exterior lay a truth known to almost no one. That morning, Colonel James Whitaker, a decorated Marine officer with 3 decades of service, made his rounds. Tall, broad-shouldered, his voice carried like thunder across the courtyard. He was known for his unshakable demeanor, a man who had faced firefights in the Middle East without so much as blinking. But that day, something unusual happened. The colonel was reviewing personnel files when he noticed Sarah. Her record was clean, almost too clean. Too few assignments, too little detail. It looked like someone had deliberately erased her past. He stopped in front of her, his shadow covering her face. "Lieutenant," he said firmly. "What's your call sign?" The recruits around her stiffened. A call sign was usually only demanded in the air wing or special operations. For logistics officers, it was irrelevant. The question cut through the silence like a blade. Sarah looked up slowly. Her hazel eyes met his. There was no tremor in her voice when she answered. "Phantom 7. The moment the words left her lips, the colonel froze. His eyes widened, his jaw tightened, and for the first time in years, the soldiers saw something they had never seen in their commanding officer. Fear. He swallowed hard, trying to mask it, but his hand trembled ever so slightly. The recruits looked at one another, confused. What was going on? The colonel cleared his throat and dismissed the formation abruptly. He turned back to Sarah. My office. Now." Inside the colonel's office, the air was heavy with tension. The blinds were pulled shut, the door locked. He poured himself a glass of water, though his hand shook as he lifted it. "Phantom 7, he muttered. "I thought you were a ghost story. A rumor. A name whispered by men who never came back from Black Ops missions." Sarah stood straight, her face unreadable. "I didn't expect anyone here to recognize it," she said quietly. The colonel stared at her, the weight of memory pressing down. "Afghanistan, 2010, he said. My unit got pinned down in Helmand province. Enemy fire rained on us for hours. Just when we thought we were finished, a shadow team slipped in, silent, invisible. They pulled us out, every single man. I never saw their faces. Just call signs whispered in the dark. And there was one name the enemy feared above all, Phantom 7. He leaned closer, his voice low. That was you." Sarah didn't answer. But the silence was confirmation enough. The colonel sank back into his chair, his voice barely above a whisper. "You don't belong here in logistics. You were special operations, weren't you? Deep black. Missions off the books. How many times did you step into places even I wasn't cleared to know about?" Her eyes flickered with something, a memory, a wound too deep to put into words. "I was where they told me to be," she said. "I did what I had to do. But when the dust settled, they needed a ghost more than a hero. So I disappeared." The colonel shook his head slowly. "And now you're here. Why?" Sarah exhaled, her hands tightening behind her back. "Because ghosts get tired, Colonel. And I didn't come back to fight. I came back to rest. But the world doesn't always let ghosts rest." 2 weeks later, a crisis unfolded. A transport convoy carrying humanitarian supplies was ambushed in hostile territory. Among the captured was a young lieutenant barely out of the academy. The rescue mission was deemed too dangerous, even for seasoned Marines. The colonel sat in the briefing room, staring at the map. Every officer hesitated, calculating the losses, the risks. And then, a voice broke the silence. "I'll go." Every head turned. Sarah stood at the back, her face calm, her voice steady. "I know the terrain. I know how to get in and out without leaving a trace. Let me do it." The colonel locked eyes with her, torn between his duty to protect her cover and the desperate need to save his men. Finally, he gave a sharp nod. "Go." But take a team. You don't walk in there alone. She shook her head. With respect, Colonel. A team makes noise. Phantom 7 doesn't. That night, Sarah moved through the darkness like a shadow reborn. Her training, long buried, returned with every silent step. She slipped through enemy lines, disabling guards with swift, silent precision. The campfires burned, rifles gleamed, but no one saw her coming. Inside the makeshift prison, the young lieutenant sat trembling. He looked up when the door creaked open, expecting the enemy. Instead, a figure stepped in, her finger pressed to her lips. "Stay quiet," she whispered. "We're leaving." In minutes, she had cut his restraints and led him through the dark. Not a single shot was fired, not a single alarm raised. When they reached the extraction point, the Marines gasped to see her emerge from the shadows, the lieutenant alive and unscathed. The colonel stood there waiting, his face illuminated by the dim red light of the field camp. When Sarah approached, the rescued officer at her side, the colonel felt that same shiver he had felt years ago. "Phantom 7, he said softly, almost reverently. She looked at him, her face unreadable. "I told you," she whispered. "I didn't come back to fight. But sometimes, the fight finds you." Word of the mission spread like wildfire, though no official report mentioned her name. Among the Marines, a legend was reborn. Phantom 7 was real, and she walked among them. The colonel, a man not easily shaken, carried that secret in silence. But every time he looked at her, he felt both awe and sorrow. Because he knew men like her never truly escaped the shadows. They lived in the silence between battles. They carried their scars where no one could see. And though the world might never know her sacrifice, those who had seen her would never forget. So the next time someone tells you legends don't walk among us, remember this story. Remember that sometimes the quietest soldier in the room carries the loudest history. Because once upon a time, a Marine colonel demanded her call sign. And when she said, "Phantom 7, he froze in shock. Thank you for watching States of History. If this story moved you, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more untold stories of courage, sacrifice, and history that still walks among us.